Welcome to Screen Quest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I am one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined this afternoon by May Fitch.
Hey guys.
And Mr. Will Rotondi.
Hey, what's going on?
On today's episode, we're going to be discussing a film so rare and so... that's not the right word.
Unique.
So unremarkable, ununique that it isn't even on any official streaming services. Two of a kind, starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. That's what we drew on last week's episode. And we will also be doing a side quest. But first, let's wish a very happy birthday. This week in cinema history, the film Public Enemy, starring James Cagney and Jean Harlow, first aired 91 years ago. This week, that film came out. It is one of my favorite classic gangster films. James Cagney is wonderful. Off mic, I was telling both of you that it was quite the scandal when James Cagney pushed a sliced grapefruit into a woman's face. I can't remember if it was Jean Harlow. It might have been Mae Clarke, but yes, one of them unfortunately gets a face full of grapefruit, and it was the talk of the town for quite a bit. It is a wonderful, wonderful film with lots of memorable zingers, and it's really interesting to see like what the gangster movie like genre was back then. Of course, there was that the moral obligation for the gangster to either end up incarcerated or dead. I won't tell you which one it is for our man, Mr. Cagney, but it is one of the two. And my other little favorite tidbit is there's a disclaimer that even plays before the film that's like, hey, like this is a portrayal of the seedy underworld and we don't condone these actions. This is not this is a moral like tale to like teach you the dangers of living a less virtuous life. Like it is a really funny little disclaimer that kind of scrolls through the screen before it gets going. So you could tell they were quite afraid that of the perception of the studio for putting out such a film. But yeah, he would go on to make lots of great films like Angels with Dirty Faces. Oddly enough, never won an Oscar for a gangster film, but Mr. Cagney did win for a musical, Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is also quite wonderful. But as much as he had that reputation as a tough guy, he ended up winning for a musical, which I always found amusing.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, he just needed to do a musical gangster film. That was what was missing.
Yes.
Man, if I could go back in time and pitch that, that would have been great. Yeah, so hopefully one day you guys will see that. It's worth the watch. It's very short. So happy birthday, Public Enemy. Right, so who is ready for our side quest of the day? I'm gonna go ahead and give these a shuffle, and let's see what we get.
It's so suspenseful not being able to see the board.
I know. I always forget you guys can't see it. All right, so it is a guilty pleasure. So that is talk about a film that you enjoy that objectively is bad, but don't care, you love it anyway. By the way, I love how much variety we've gotten in our cards so far. We did a good job, I want to say. Like we haven't had any repeats yet, which is wonderful. And these have always been fun. So do either of you have a nomination for guilty pleasure?
I definitely do, but I went last week, so I will
May I want to hear yours,
over.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make sure I'm remembering the name correctly, but it is the kind of like Netflix version of a Christmas Hallmark film that got really popular. I think it's called A Christmas Prince. And yes, it is A Christmas Prince.
It sounds like a winner.
And it is fantastic. It has like, I think just like a tiny bit more charm than like the hundreds of like formulaic Hallmark movies have around Christmas time. And especially if I'm like hanging out at my parents' house and we just want something that is like seasonal to have on the TV as we're chatting or eating or like doing Christmas tree stuff, it's nice to have up there. The acting is not great. The plot makes no sense.
Well, you gotta give us a little taste. Like, give us a little taste.
Basically, The like protagonist here, Amber, she is a journalist and she's sent to like cover this royal story. I'm forgetting the exact details of it. But like there's all of this like, you know, kind of like going undercover and costuming and all this stuff that like completely breaks all journalistic ethics, and I find hilarious because I used to do journalism. Uh, and she ends up falling in love with the prince that she's doing the story on, and then there's this plot twist towards the end that I don't want to give away, but the prince isn't exactly who you think he is either. Oh my god. And then
Is it Santa Claus? Man, because that would be great.
they
Even better than that, Christ. He's Jesus. He's literally Jesus Christ.
not quite.
Okay.
But there's a very wholesome coming together of like the royal family and this kind of outside new girl, and they have their happy Christmas ending. And
Is there snow in it?
oh yeah, so much snow. I think the kingdom is just like always snowy and frozen. It might actually be the kingdom out of Frozen.
Nice.
That is excellent. So what is it about this movie that that speaks to you? Is it like just, is it cozy? Like what does it work for you?
I think it's because it's cozy, and also Rose McIver plays the leading lady, and I feel like just like her character is not self-aware of how ridiculous the whole thing is, but just kind of like the way she smiles makes her seem like a little bit self-aware. So it's a bit more palatable than a lot of the Hallmark movies that take themselves almost too seriously, but have similarly ridiculous plots. So you kind of feel like Rose is in on the joke with you as you're watching, which I like. And then yeah, it's just like lighthearted and fun and sappy, and I feel like I can be definitely a somewhat nihilistic person, so I like to have my little guilty pleasure watch be something that's a lot more wholesome and silly.
You know, I'll be honest, like my cynicism tends to melt a little bit during the Christmas season as well. I am all for sappy movies. I'll be honest, like I haven't quite answered the siren's call of the Hallmark like formulaic movie. My stepfather loves that, like he can't get enough of them, like even outside of Christmas. But there's lots of you know, great Christmas films, like both old and new, that I do enjoy, and I'll have a whiskey. We'll switch the fireplace on if it's cold enough, and you know, here in Florida, that's maybe not, and I'll get nice and sappy with the Christmas movie. So I understand that, like I totally get that. The improbable plot is a staple, I think, of a lot of Christmas films. So that's fine. It gets a pass
Because it has to be a Christmas miracle. That's the whole point.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely. Amazing. Are you aware of this film, Will? Have you seen this or heard about it?
I feel like I have seen it grace my Netflix promotional queue at one point or another. And I also really like Rose McIver because of iZombie and because of there's another show that she's in now that I can't remember the name of, but it's about ghosts. And I feel like her characters are always very similar. I think it's just called
Ghosts. Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
My parents also like that. So it might just be that my parents like Rose McIver, and so they keep just showing me Rose McIver movies and shows.
Awesome.
Based on your interest of Rose McIver, and it's just like a swath of stuff on Netflix. That's great. Yeah, Ghost is like a sitcom, right? Like if that's the one I'm thinking of. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Yeah, I feel like she's always sort of in on the, like her characters always sort of seem a little like they're always quirky, and they're always sort of like, it's a little bit out of the, we're taking this seriously, but only to like a certain degree, which I also really appreciate. So, but yeah.
I think that's what sells it for me.
Well, I may have to check that out this Christmas season. I can't do Christmas movies outside of like you know, like the month of December, like maybe like you know, New Year's, like around that time. I can still tolerate it, but I'll have to file it away, because it's always good to have some new ones to throw into the rotation, you know.
Or we can do it for the show. I mean,
yeah, we've been toying around with an idea. I won't say what it is yet, but around the holidays, of doing something a little different with the show. So yeah.
Now I have ideas.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing. You're our first guilty pleasure. I feel like that's a pretty easy one, probably for like anybody on the planet, because like we all have like at least a few movies that we're like, it's a, kind of a turd, but you don't care. So.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's transition to our main quest and talk a little bit about Two of a Kind, a film. I want to reiterate that like legally, like we could not stream anywhere for purchase, like to buy or rent. This movie is not currently available on the internet, at least according to Just Watch. So yeah, we had to dig deep into the dark web to find a copy of this. Probably won't post a link just for fear of violating some terms of service. But if you look hard enough, you can find it. My advice is don't look on the BitTorrent sites. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You will find very different results than what you're looking for. So how do I know that? Well, I lived it.
Again, I am so sorry, Chris.
Did extensive
Okay.
research and found out that's not the series that we want to talk about this week. So.
No. Yep.
I think Will, didn't you say you can also bid for it on eBay?
Yeah, so I found it for a whopping $4 and some change on eBay, which might be steep, depending on how you feel. And my local library, which actually seems to have a surprising amount of videos to stream and or to rent, did not have it at all. So that also
you
was
could
like
get
a
it on
big-
DVD on Amazon. It was for sale like through Amazon,
Okay.
but like they did not go to Blu-ray and certainly not a 4K.
What?
The home release market for this seemed to have stalled out around DVDs era. So
Yeah.
I want to say the version we watched wasn't even 720p. I think it was like 300p or something like
it was quite bad. Like it's bad when you like have it full screen initially and you're like, nope, I need to make this smaller on my computer screen because I can't really see. Yeah.
It's definitely worth watching on your phone if there was ever a movie to do that on. Just saying.
There we go.
Perfect resolution on that.
That's amazing.
All right. So, Two of a Kind is truly one of a kind. It was made in 1983, written and directed by John Herzfeld. It is his debut theatrical film. I think the only he's done a number of films. I think the only one that has had really much critical success was Don King, only in America. Two of a Kind stars John Travolta as Zach Mellon, our bank heist inventor dude, and Olivia Newton-John stars as Debbie Wilder. If those two names sound familiar together, it's because they were in Grease just a little bit before this. It had a budget of, well, actually, I have a different piece of trivia on my board, but I do kind of want to ask you two both what you thought the budget was.
I have to adjust down to like 80s money. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
25 million is gonna be my guess for that.
Okay, well,
I think that's high, but yeah.
I was going to say for those two actors, and they thought it was going to be a success. Oof. I'll go with 30, just because I have no concept of math, and I'm going to be wrong, but I'm just going to use that number.
it was an estimated 14 million. Somehow they did not end up in debt. They did gross more than they spent, at least. So that was good.
Was that from the soundtrack?
It probably was. So yeah, fun fact, this movie bombed like bad.
I can't imagine why.
The soundtrack was so successful that it actually went platinum. Olivia Newton-John's hit song Twist of Fate was nominated for Best Short Form Music Video at the 27th Grammy Awards in 1985. And the song was the last of her 15 top 10 chart toppers. So she kind of went out on Twist of Fate. Which was originally the name of this film. It was supposed to be Twist of Fate, and then they renamed it to Two of a Kind. But yeah, I'm gonna try to give a plot overview because I know most people will not be watching this. And Chris and Will, please fill in wherever I miss relevant details. But basically, we start out with 4 angels playing golf. And these angels have been left in charge of the world while God has been taking a much needed vacation. This is explicitly said. This is not me making a joke. He went on a vacation for 25 years. Anyway, he comes back. He's very mad at how they've been handling the world and is threatening to launch a second flood And the angels' plan to stop this flood is to find two perfect people to basically make the ultimate sacrifice for one another. And the people they pick are Zach Mellon and Debbie Wilder. And it's the movie kind of like shifts from the scene of heaven down to Zach, where he's being beat up by some kind of a loan shark because he's spent a bunch of money on a bunch of gimmicky inventions, including an automatic dog feeder for a non-existent dog, and some other gems we'll talk about shortly. But he decides to rob a bank to pay off the loan shark. The bank teller that he robs is Debbie Wilder, and she ends up conning the con man by handing him a bag of receipts and then taking the money and running herself. There's a lot of hijinks from that point on, because that's kind of where the angels decide that they need to maybe have a little intervention for these two folks because they're not making the best choices. And yeah, it's basically the angels trying from then on to make Zach and Debbie like do the right thing and fall in love, but also like they commit like erasing evidence of the bank robbery and confessions and like try to convince them not to snitch on each other. It's very interesting. Apparently God does not want you to snitch, but they're being thwarted by the devil, who doesn't want their plans to succeed, and is played by Oliver Reed. And this all wraps up with the devil changing his mind, deciding no, he actually does want Zach and Debbie together, because the only thing worse than like, you know, the devil getting everyone down into hell is the devil have no one left to tempt, basically. And he's afraid that if God sends another flood, he won't have anyone to mess around with, essentially. So he dresses up as a robber and holds Debbie Wilder hostage to give Zach the opportunity to save her life, which he does. He gets shot in a way that miraculously does not bleed, but also kills him. And then God brings him back to life and decides that that was enough of a show of sacrifice, that the world will not be ending. And it is happily ever after for Zach, Debbie, God, and the devil. Did I miss anything?
I think you covered. Yeah, you covered the broad strokes for sure. I mean, actually did a pretty nice job of making a plot that, as you're watching it unfold minute to minute, is absurd, like sound quite I don't know, coherent. So well done there. Like,
Thank you. So yeah, no, it has twists and turns. There are moments that had me laughing, and there's moments that had me crawling out of my skin, for sure. Before I kind of, hand it over to you guys to see how you felt just kind of overall watching the film, I would like to point out that the film was nominated for 5 Razzie Awards, including Worst Actor for John Travolta, Worst Actress for Olivia, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Picture. So there is that. But yeah, like I think towards the end of the podcast we can go into like our overall opinion on whether this was, more camp or more cringe, but just how was the overall viewing experience for you guys? I don't think either of you had heard of this film before I mentioned it or brought it up.
Nope, I saw it on the list and I intentionally like stayed away. Like anything on the list that I didn't recognize, I was like, hey, I'm going to make this a pure viewing experience. This was no exception. So I had not. Had you heard of this before, Will?
Nope, first time ever. And I can kind of see why.
That's fair. Yeah, the plot was very difficult to follow at times. There's some interesting continuity errors. Like they kept referring it to like the day the action was happening in as being like the same day as the bank robbery, but also the day after the bank robbery. A point that confused me, and I'm wondering if you got any understanding of this, was like what was the devil's motive for trying to like interfere? Like I didn't understand that whatsoever. I felt like he was just there to like tease the angels, basically.
Yeah, they quite clearly said like, dude, like God has said that everyone he smites to like start the world over is going to heaven. So like you're gonna run out of like torture fodder. Like you should probably chill. And like nothing new, like no new information like comes to light or happens between like the first time they tell him that and the end, and then he just sort of maybe he thinks it's a bluff. I don't know. I have no idea. I couldn't
That
tell
was
you.
sort of my take, was that he just thought they were up to something else. And so he just wanted to screw around with them because he figured if they're doing something on behalf of God, then it's not in his best interest.
Fair assumption for a devil. Fair
Yeah.
assumption. So yeah, that was confusing. I mentioned this, but I was really thrown by the fact that he has like an automatic dog food dispenser and no pet. Like he makes a point of rigging his doorbell to sound like he has a dog to scare off the loan shark, and then he doesn't have a pet. And this piece of trivia I think might help explain that. So yeah, was Olivia attacked by a dog on the set of the film? True or false?
I mean, I've got to go with true because that's way too bizarre of a thing to just like randomly be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I gotta say true also, yeah.
so she was, and I could not find any confirmation of this, but I think it's probably the dog that was supposed to be Zach's dog.
hmm
I kind of wondered it like some of the way it's shot from the point of view of the gangsters in the hallway. It's almost like there might actually be a dog. Like it's played for laughs, like when it cuts back to the interior with him like pretending to put the dog away. But like I wondered if they were originally reacting to like what was supposed to be like an actual dog that he was putting up or something.
I think so.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah. That was an interesting aspect. The edible glasses were a treat.
Oh geez.
Oh my
Man.
God.
That was, yeah. From the beginning too. Like you weren't even really sure what was on his face, and then he explained it later, and it was just
I looked up to see if you could buy edible glasses, or at least on Amazon. You cannot. But I was going to send you guys each a pair, like
nice.
just because, but I'm sure like Spencer's maybe. Although I think usually they stick more to like underwear and stuff. But yeah. But maybe somewhere out there there'll be some edible sunglasses.
Chris is like, well, this is the closest thing I can get to it. So enjoy, guys.
I'm not sending you. Yeah, no, that would be the wrong message.
This is made of Smarties. What is
Smarties? Oh my God.
Oh Lord.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad you didn't do that on multiple levels, but one of them was Debbie claims that the glasses tasted like shit, but were also incredible. So I don't want shit flavored glasses.
No.
Yeah, I can't imagine that edible sunglasses would taste good. Like I was trying to think like practically how could you do this potentially, and like sugar, I suppose, like you know how you can like make like sugar like almost like glass, you know, like if you cook it right and all that, let it cool. So maybe that, but even then I don't think that would taste good. It would probably just be like just a, you know, like rock candy or something, which is not great.
You should submit this idea to the Great British Baking Show, Chris, and they will definitely include it. I have no doubt, as like the showcase at the end of an episode.
Do a whole episode themed around this movie.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, I had a hard time. Like, so there were brief stretches, but like stretches nonetheless in this movie where I forgot I was watching a shitty movie. Like it would settle down. And I don't think Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta are like bad in this movie. I just don't think they have a lot to work with in terms of the script. Like they're both beautiful people and like the prime of their career, you know, and there's that charm, and you could tell like they're doing the best with what they got, I think. But between those stretches of like this isn't half bad, like we're just like oof moments of confused. Like sometimes I wasn't clear if it was day or night, and it seemed to kind of flip-flop, like when her friends were leaving her roommate and boyfriend are leaving the apartment, like I thought it was nighttime. They were like, oh, we got to get to the beach to catch some rays. I was like, time, like what's going on here? Like am I the only one there? I don't know, but like
no, I had the same confusion. I was like, where are they going again? Is it really far away? Is this so they can get there the next day?
Yeah. So but I did find it, like all that being said, to be way more watchable than what I was expecting. Like reading the reputation of this movie, I thought it was going to be like, you know, like so bad it's good, and we'll talk about that at the end, I suppose. But like I found this to be actually a lot more watchable than I was expecting. So
Yeah.
that's my take, I guess.
I,
General
kn-
take.
I know the main criticism of the film that I've heard, and you just kind of spoke to that, Chris, but I'd like to hear your opinions, Will, is basically that this actually would have been a decent film if you just cut out all the like supporting characters and the whole like biblical framing, because it just made everything very complicated and confusing in a way that didn't advance the plot. And like besides Earl, who was played by Scatman Crothers, and like maybe Beasley, Oliver Reed a little bit, like that was not a very strong cast of supporting actors.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like somebody like pitched like the first bit of it, like, so this is guy who goes into rob a bank and blah 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 blah. And then they were like, awesome, great, let's make it. He's like, hold on, I've got a different idea. Like, how about if the like there's God and the world's gonna end? And then like they were like, well, which one do you want to do? He's like, you know what? Let's do both. Like, let's do both. Like, it feels like two distinct movies sometimes. So that's a good point.
I agree. Actually, I think that was the heart. That speaks to what I was going to say. Was I don't think the film really knows what it wanted to be, and it was struggling hard to juggle too many different factors to then come together in the end. That you feel like not a whole lot actually happened throughout the course of the plot, and it just seemed very disjointed and odd. So at some points, it feels like an action movie almost to some degree. In other parts, it's like a romantic comedy, but then you get John Travolta's character that's just in some moments so absolutely unlikable that you would think, what woman would then turn around and follow him outside to get in a cab with this guy after he's been such a skis ball? So I don't know. I found that very strange and disjointed, and maybe it's just an issue with the script, or maybe they tried too hard to play Twitch Storm and they thought, yes, let's just do all this together and we can make it happen because of our actors and Grease, and they could do that, so we could recreate that magic. And I don't, yeah, no.
Yeah, it's really sad because they do have great chemistry. In preparation for this, I was actually watching an interview they did after filming had completed before the movie came out.
Mhm.
And like they seem way more in love just in this interview together than, at any point in the film, and do have a lot of natural chemistry with each other. And I felt like when I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin was usually when like the script was just very awful and awkward and they were trying to roll with it and it just
But if you do that,
was
we'll
not
make love.
working.
That was my favorite line because it was like all of a sudden like everybody would just lose control of their decision making. Like, oh man. Oh.
It wasn't the doorknob innuendo, which was
Oh my
out
Christ.
That
of
was
left
for me.
field.
That was when it was like, yeah, no, done. Yeah. But then she was okay with him 2 minutes later when the skeezy landlord comes out. And it's like, you know what? Lesser of two evils. And I thought he was attractive when he held me at gunpoint at the bank. So yeah.
Gotta hold the
yeah.
nuts when you screw.
God, man.
Listeners, that was an actual line from this film.
Yeah. So we had
and
Deckard before, and now we've got
yeah.
We got a couple of winners, man.
Yeah, that landlord was something because like
Yeah.
I feel like most women are either aware of this type of landlord or have had the type of landlord that's like a little forward, a little skeevy. But this guy, like, I don't know if you caught this because it's kind of a throwaway line, but he evicted her because he saw Zach coming over so much. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's not cool. And also I think like a convenient plot device, like that probably could have been, if you wanted to get her out of the apartment, like there's a lot of different ways to do it, but
you have the guy come in to sign his name on the lease. You don't you don't evict because of that.
Yeah, I mentioned in the 80s, right? It wouldn't have been that scandalous. Like that's not like a time period where like I know there was definitely a time in America where if you had gentlemen callers coming over, like that would probably have been grounds for eviction. But
yeah, I think that was usually like for housing that was already like all women's housing, and it was very clear that her roommate had a long-term boyfriend. So
true, yes, who apparently knows more about Olivia Newton-John's sex life than like she does about herself, like almost like the oversharing and just Jesus.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
weird character. I think he had, like, besides Zach, some of the weirdest lines. And he just walks out with a wheel of cheese at one point. It's like, this
Yep.
is Skyrim.
Yeah. Hey, this
that
is great
brie that
cheese.
you
Let's
brought
bring it
back,
to the
yeah.
party.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was
So-
a treat. He was a treat. But you're gonna say something, Chris?
No, nothing of. I mean, jeez, it's hard.
All
It's hard
right.
to even.
I want us to talk about the ending before we go into our, like, is this camp or cringe debate. But first, did you all have a favorite character? And if so, who and why?
Jesus.
I'd have to go with the devil, only because I feel like every time anybody who plays the devil gets a lot of latitude in how much fun they can have with that character and just being bad, because you expect him just to be a repulsive character. And then, of course, when he's got that little twinkle in his eye at the end where he actually kind of helps everybody else out because, obviously he's got a stake in it too. Then you're like, oh, thanks. But also, I expected you to do that. But yeah, I think he was just the most coherent. Like, you may not actually, he may not have made sense in some respects for some of the choices that he made, but I feel like I can get behind his motivation a lot more than I can get behind what was happening throughout the course of the film. And also, like, all the strange sort of arguments they had about, we need these characters, we need these humans to, like, sacrifice themselves, but we're going to rewind everything, here and there, and manipulate some of the stuff around them to make it easier for them to make that choice. And I'm thinking, so wait, so is this not cheating? Like, at one point both of them die, and then they just rewind what had happened and let it play out, and they go and interfere later. The angels do go in and interfere in the course of events, and you just sit back and think, well, that's not really, how is that proving your point?
Oh, that contest is rigged as fuck, like, in every sense of the
Yeah.
word. I'm on God's side. Like, bring on the flood, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my
and then
god.
and at the very end, when it works in their favor and God just he doesn't say anything, he just pieces out, like, okay, well, cool. I guess you won that one. Or there's no little, like, there's no resolution. It just sort of, like, it ends and it focuses back on the love story. And so I thought that was just really, I don't know, it was just strange. It was, I guess, quirky and entertaining, but it was still so strange.
Maybe the true
Yeah.
end goal is just to make the Angels stop playing golf. Maybe he's angry about that. So
That's a
give
good
him some
manager right there.
busy work.
Honestly, I mean, he did talk like a smug boomer. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to mention Gene Hackman, I think, was the voice of God.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in case you need a little nudge towards watching this movie, there you
Or
go.
a nudge away from. No.
What about you, Chris? Did you have a favorite, or at
Yeah.
least, like, least disliked character?
Oscar the lackey. Oscar, like the loan shark lackey, is my favorite guy. Like, I love his sort of heroic turn at the end, sticking the gun in his boss's mouth, the way he awkwardly stands in the plant during the whole dinner buffet scene, and really just, like, all around, like, his lines were pretty awesome. So yeah, I gotta go with him. He had more heart than probably most people in this movie, honestly. Should have picked
He's-
him for the model human.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, he's my favorite too. Although I think Earl would be a close second. He was, like, of the angels, like, he seemed properly aloof compared to the other angels, I think, and also, like, similar to God, kind of just like, these silly humans, but also very patient and kind. I thought A plus angel work there, but no, Oscar was great. He was definitely the most human and relatable.
Probably the only person that was a human that acted like a human in this entire movie, honestly. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Truthfully, yeah. So what do we make of that ending? I guess it was a true Deus ex machina, or devilus ex machina. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what Latin for devil would be. No, not Diablo, right?
Diablo.
No. Yeah, Diablo ex machina. But yeah, it certainly was. Yep. The ending, I mean, it brought it to a close. It successfully made the credits roll, and for that, we should be grateful. But yeah, it sure wasn't ending. I think Will said like tonally, like already like the shift is crazy. Like it becomes like a heist, like thriller. I'm like, what am I watching a Michael Mann film now? Like, what is going on here? Like, all right. They just wanted to have a like a hostage situation, so they put it in.
Yep.
Yeah, I like how Zach seems like very confused, unsure what to do, both when he's in the bank, but also during the hostage situation. It's like he knows that he's supposed to go run in and save her, but he's being like antsy about it and biding his time, like he's waiting for his cue. um, and then yeah, just like again, the lack of any attempt to do any kind of like fake blood or bullet wound when he gets shot in the chest. He just collapses and is in someone. I think Debbie says, "Oh no, he's dead." The like introduction of the clock and like the countdown to midnight reminded me a lot of Troll 2 when they suddenly introduced like an absurd time constraint towards the end of the film.
I mean, yeah, they definitely did their homework on how to create suspense, I guess, like on paper at least, which is like have like the visible like clock hand moving slowly.
It was something.
It was something. What? Oh, the weird like trope of like the police keep telling him to like get back, but like he's clearly on the other side of the tape, like just bouncing around for a good 5 minutes, and like they don't seem to want him there, but also don't like really at any point like remove him. Like it's like they're interacting with him like almost as if he's like half a part of like the police squad or something. I found that to be really odd too, where I'm like,
Also the number of police that showed up for like I don't know if like a poster shop is what they used to call a different kind of store, but they say it's a poster shop that got robbed, and like 5 or 6 police cars pull up immediately.
good response time,
Right.
kudos.
Clear the block.
So yeah, that was quite an ending. And yeah, I do want to like define camp and cringe before we kind of like
Yes, I think that would be
give
helpful.
our takes on that.
Yep.
So according to Merriam-Webster, camp is something so outrageously artificial, affected, inappropriate, or out of date as to be considered amusing. And cringe, I kind of sourced this from a few different places. Sorry, Merriam-Webster. Cringe is distasteful content deemed humiliating on account of the subject's looks, behavior, or talent, and the lack of apparent self-awareness about those things.
I know where I'm coming down, but I'll go last.
Yeah. So I personally made a list of what I thought was kind of camp and like what I thought was kind of cringe, and then my final take at the end. But I would love for one of you two to go first.
Go ahead, Will.
All right. Well, this is not going to have very many specifics to it. It's mostly everything we've already talked about, but I have to go with cringe. I felt it was so incoherent through most of the film. It was trying to be too many different things, and it was just the characters were just making me feel, especially Travolta's character, just pained almost to watch it, just because you know that there's talent there, you know that the actors are talented, but the storyline is just not. It's not going anywhere. So for me, it was definitely cringe overall.
Totally agree. I think there's a really good reason why people don't really talk about this movie very often or have much awareness other than like as a curiosity, right? Like I think you can use that as a great starting point. Typically, like when I think of like camp, I think of something that has gained prestige and that like it's more than an object of curiosity. It's something that people can actively enjoy watching because of the over the topness, or like I don't know, it goes kind of like beyond, or it's intentionally made in such a way, like I don't know, I always think of like Rocky Horror when I think of like camp, right? Which has only gotten better and more popular with age, so this movie does not really tick any of those boxes. It very much does seem like a lot of wasted talent and time and resources, and Really, it's a movie I think that like was just overmade, for the reasons we talked about. Like they try to do too much instead of just kind of keeping it simple. The interesting thing is, like, I wonder if it was more of like a straightforward, like, bank robber robs a woman and then like they fall in love and there's that push pull, like if it would be any more or less memorable. Like that's a different question, but cringe all the way for me.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they had to add in all the God stuff to like make it seem like them getting together at the end was still moral. That's what God wanted, right?
Yeah, divine intervention. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, I'm also going to have to say cringe. But I do want to go over the redeeming characteristics that make it
Please.
somewhat campy. These include for me, number one, the edible sunglasses. That's
Yes.
just
Yeah, that's
iconic.
true.
I think just the way God talks as a character is so unlike any other like characterization of God I've ever heard. He just like talks like a smug know-it-all, like
He's a big fan of Shakespeare.
yeah, like upper middle manager kind of guy who loves Shakespeare.
Hmm.
The awkwardness of the robbery scene I found very campy because it's like it's still going at a pretty good pace at that point. It's early on in the film, and like he is just has the lamest pickup line ever, going from bank teller to bank teller trying to get someone who will listen to him. He's threatened her with a gun, and then he just has to awkwardly pace around the lobby while he's waiting for her to get the money.
What does he say? Like, because is it you're the most beautiful chick or the sexiest chick in the bank or something?
Yeah, something like that. Great compliment, real showstopper. So that was all pretty campy to me. I also think that like Zach's inventions are very campy. And just like the full range, because we have the glasses, we have the automatic dog feeder, we have the dog barking doorbell, lots of various just apparatuses with like spatulas and gears and wheels, and all of that was quite amusing to me. And I think just random stuff like basically everything Debbie's roommate's boyfriend said and taking the wheel of cheese. That being said, all of that occurred like solidly in pretty much the first half of the film. And from then on, I think it was just 100% cringe. And that is why I had to say it's cringe. If it had maintained the energy of the first half of the film, I think this could have become a cult classic. But it did not. I think the two most uncomfortable scenes for me after that were the acting class, where like that whole skit just did not land at all, where she's supposed to be reenacting the traumatic event of the bank robbery, and then actually sees Zach walk into the room and is like screaming and pointing to him, and the acting coach just like thinks that she's acting, but it's just the way it's executed is very bad.
Well, she wasn't traumatized at all. Like she was like,
yeah,
she totally grifted him and was amused. So like it comes out of left field because you're like, but she wasn't ever scared. Like she thinks this guy's a chump. Like if anything, like it would have like been funnier if like her acting got worse because she was distracted or something. So yeah, agree.
Yeah, so there is that, and then there's the just like very start and stop love scene that was just very palpably awkward.
Yes. And the language.
And the language.
To describe it.
So yeah, at that point I was also ready to walk away from the movie, but we still had to see the not the bank robbery, the hostage situation. And then by an act of God, it all ended.
don't forget the like the 2-hour turnaround for the court case too. Like
Jesus.
You were like, fucking hell, the justice system moves swiftly, like in this district in New York.
In the criminal justice system, there are a group of detectives whose job it is to take care of the supernatural. These are their stories.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. Yeah.
So yeah, that was Two of a Kind. Again, you're welcome, and also I'm sorry for putting this on our list, but
no regrets here. Like this
I'm
is
hoping this was, after going through like a lot of like serious and really well done movies, this was a good palate cleanser.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was fun to watch it. We did watch it as a group. By the way, podcast listeners, we fired up a Zoom call and watched it on the interwebs together. And I was glad I had the two of you along for the journey because yeah, it was cathartic to see like the facial reactions like on both of you at various points in it. So yeah, I knew it wasn't alone.
And I do need to give a shout out to the YouTuber Pushing Up Roses for having done a video on this movie previously, because I otherwise would not have heard about it because it streams nowhere. So
Nice.
Yeah, big love. Thank you for getting this onto our prestigious list of films from all over the world, from all different genres and time periods
and quality standards.
and quality standards, indeed.
Oh man, I do have to say the one talking about his inventions, just as a random side note, because I think we even asked about it too while we were watching it, was does this have any influence on other films that had like the weird inventor in it? Like we didn't talk about Gremlins, but Gremlins definitely had the weird inventions, and that was like released a year after this film. And then
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, the first one, had at the very beginning where Doc Brown even has like a little dog food can opener thing going on there too, automatic timer. And that was 2 years later. And then I think the only other movie I can think of was like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which came out years before. So
Don't do my boy Wade Zielinski dirty, baby. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Don't forget
that's
about Wade
right. Oh,
Zielinski.
you did
That's
mention that one.
true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, so it's like, was there some influence there? Like maybe we took some bits and pieces that didn't work for this one and then repurposed it to make a better story later. So in some respects, maybe this was a good first draft.
I think it was a way you could show somebody as being like a loser who wasn't a loser, right? Somebody that like maybe wasn't successful, but like was just like one hot idea away, right? Because that was kind of the thing with all of those characters. Like they didn't have anything that worked yet, but like it was the one thing that did. And we know now that the edible sunglasses were that was it, man. That was it for our boy. Presumably went on to make millions of dollars.
I have nothing else to say.
Now I think I'm all
Drop the
set as
mic.
well.
Yeah.
Should we move on to our closing game?
Yep, closing game, and we'll
Yes.
draw our final or not our final card, our next card as the
Oh,
final segment.
Chris, do you have
It's
news?
the end.
Yeah, we're the podcast
Got
is
some
over.
news, everybody.
Sorry.
I told you I was having a rough weekend, Chris. Come on.
Yep, still sick, but yeah, that unfortunately means we're gonna have to end the podcast. Goodbye. All right, so explain. So May
Yeah.
has cooked up a very intriguing sounding game for us.
So I will say I got the idea from this from TikTok because I've seen people do this with like book reviews. And I am going to have Chris and Will try to guess the name of a movie based on the 1-star reviews it has gotten on Letterboxd. This is a curated selection of reviews because some of them are just expletives. And that is not informative.
It could be. It could be.
What the
Was it
fuck
a giant
this
piece of
garbage I
shit?
just watched?
Was it a little piece of shit? You know, it's gonna.
So I did try to find ones that like would have told you at least a little bit of something about the movie it's talking about.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm gonna give you I have 5 movies. I have 3 reviews for each. You'll have up to the third to guess it right, and you'll get more points the earlier you guess it. Kind of like with the keyword countdown that we did. And as with keyword countdown, I'm fairly confident you'll get all of these by the last review. So,
Great.
are you ready?
Sweet.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Your first film. This is the product of modern cinema's least interesting artist, showing us the darkest corners of his mind, where nothing dwells but insanely plodding conversations and deeply unimaginative staging. The few elements of this film that manage to approach scary or disturbing are all shamelessly stolen.
Old.
No. Good guess, though.
The Village.
Also, no. Any more thoughts?
Eh,
Lady in the
No.
Water. No, I'm sorry, Shyamalan. I just
Damn. Okay.
Shots fired. Yeah, I know.
All right. Review number 2. An irredeemable death march through the worst impulses of modern genre cinema, opportunistically pitched and hawked via some vague hashtag #MeToo influencer version of
Oh.
feminism. Looks like ass too.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be really upset if it's Invisible Man because I love that movie. Is it Invisible Man?
It is not.
Oh, thank God. That movie's awesome. It's a banger. You seen that?
I have not.
No,
Does that
not
have
yet.
the woman from The Handmaid's Tale in it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Sure does. Peggy Olson from Mad Men also. She's Elizabeth Moss, is that right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to derail us
Anyway,
there.
so no, it is not The Invisible Man.
Oof. I have no guesses that are good enough right now. I'm gonna wait
I
for the next
know.
one.
I'm trying to think like Midsummer.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey.
nice.
I was trying to think of a good for
Excellent.
her, good for her.
Yeah,
Like movie
yeah.
end.
Yeah.
For fun, I will read you the last review anyway. I think you both would have gotten it at this one for sure. It says, too silly to take seriously. Never go with a hippie or a shitty boyfriend to a second location.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I disagree with all those reviews. I love that movie. It is fantastic.
I know you do, Chris. Okay, so I should be writing down your scores. So that is a 2-pointer for Chris. Good job, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, film number 2. This is a shorter set of reviews. This movie has the worst use of a soundtrack I have ever seen.
Inception.
Also, no.
I was gonna say, what?
I hate that. I hate that sound. I hate that movie. Actually, we'll talk about that some other time.
Oh,
I'm
God.
hot and cold on Mr. Nolan, and that's one that I am ice cold on. But we'll talk about that's a separate. That's a whole separate thing.
No.
Okay. Well,
Oof. That really screws with a soundtrack. Gosh. I'm not gonna take up any more time because I'm just gonna be thinking about too many films. I'll go with the next clue. Sorry.
okay. All right. Review number 2. I'm so mad. At breakfast, Jodie Foster gets just toast and jam. Out of all the things you could have ordered at a diner, you pick toast?
Oh shit.
Contact?
No.
I was gonna say, I don't remember having toast and jam. All right, Jodie Foster.
Taxi Driver?
Ding, ding, ding. It is Taxi
Nice.
Driver.
Nice.
Also, what the fuck, man? Bernard Herrmann. It's like his famously his final and one of his best scores.
Damn.
That is the nature of 1-star reviews. They are
I guess.
sometimes not on point.
Yeah. Ooh.
The third review for that one was going to be, if you consider Travis to be an empathetic character, I would not trust you with my drink.
Yep.
That's definitely you missed the point. He's one of those characters for sure.
Yeah,
You missed the point if you idolize him at the end of that.
for sure. All right. Will, you can still catch up. You can still.
There's always hope, but I will
ring this
say that
in.
all of these movies, the last 2 I have not seen, so this is giving me good information for recommendations for future screenings for myself. So if
There you
anything
go.
else, it's educational, so it is absolutely okay.
Okay.
Midsummer's the sweatiest I've ever been in a movie theater.
Yeah?
Just from stress. Oh my god, yeah, I was soaked through.
Nice. Okay.
So if you want something that's get the heart rate pounding, that's one.
Mhm.
All right.
Excellent.
Movie number 3.
Dun, dun,
This is written in all caps. I will not be screaming because
Oh.
I live in an apartment.
Oh,
But
that's
why is nothing resolved in this film? 4 hours of my life gone down the drain.
dun. Contact. No, kidding.
Gone with
4
the Wind.
hours.
No. What'd you say, Will?
I was just saying 4 hours.
Yeah.
Jeez. If somebody said this about Dune, I could understand it. But that would be somebody who didn't understand the reason behind why it was that long. but I would throw out Dune.
It is not Dune, but that was a very good guess.
Justice League. That's
No.
Did somebody say this about Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Oh shit! Which one?
You got it. Woo!
There's still hope.
Good job. Hey, well done, man.
Fellowship of the Rings, which is very funny because like I think everyone should know that's the first film.
Yeah, they're all like, "Man, the story didn't wrap up. What the
You would
hell?"
think my brother-in-law, well, ex-brother-in-law, did not know. So like I lent him the DVD, and he was like, "Dude, that movie was excellent, but it kind of just ends, huh? Like that's weird. Like any chance of a sequel?" I was like, "There's 150% chance of a sequel. Like there's 2 more films that have been made, just not edited and put out yet."
The remaining reviews for that one were fell asleep when they started walking, woke up 48 minutes later and they were still walking. And then the last one was only Lord I need is my savior Jesus Christ.
Oh damn.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Oh boy.
I could not make these up. They're great.
I need to look at more Letterboxd reviews.
Somebody's
You
like,
can
"Yo,
sort
my
by
man."
number of stars. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It is mostly just expletives or just like bad, but
Yeah, like my
You'll find
man
some
Jesus
gems.
could have thrown that ring into the mountain, no problem. Take it like less than three boobies. Like, oh my goodness.
all right, movie number 4, second to last.
Okay.
There is an inexplicably rabid fan base for this movie, which is so convoluted that it appears to be clever and seems to trick a certain audience into believing in its flimsy plot.
I'm gonna throw out a bunch of movies that I love because I feel like it's gonna be one of those. So is it Dune?
It is not Dune.
I just feel like I could see people ragging on this movie. Not to like obsess over it, but I just feel like that would be something there. It is convoluted, but anyway.
It is not Dune, no. Do you have any others you want to throw out?
Plenty, but Chris, I'll let you go.
The Matrix.
It is not The Matrix.
Got nothing.
Is it Interstellar?
It is not Interstellar. That's a good one though.
Memento. I'll throw another one. That's a Chris Nolan movie I do like.
Is it
No.
Tenet?
It
We're just
is
gonna go
not
through his whole
Tenet.
filmography.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan, complicated, doesn't make any sense. Possibly terrible soundtrack, depending on who you talk to.
I like Zimmo. I just don't like the soundtrack to Inception. But
Mhm.
All right, do you guys want the next review?
please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Kept checking the time and felt like there was always 40 minutes left. Before the twist was revealed, I thought no, they wouldn't make it that obvious, but alas, they did. I feel like I need some Jeopardy music or something.
Yeah, either some background music or we'll just cut this little part. We'll edit
The
for
Sixth
time.
Sense.
It is not The Sixth Sense.
Ooh. I like how we're moving to Shyamalan now as our filmography.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? Signs. Or maybe Unbreakable.
Oh.
I got nothing.
Long had a twist at the end that they went with. Complicated.
I have one more review if you want it.
Blade Runner
I will-
2049. I'll say that.
It is not Blade Runner
Damn it.
2049.
Uh,
I do generally try to avoid movies we've recently talked about.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, last review. I don't understand when I was supposed to be rooting for the other guy and not Hugh Jackman.
Oh, Prestige.
Yes, there you
Damn
go.
it.
It was Nolan. I was the one we didn't choose.
I was
Oh
biting my
God.
tongue. I'm like, you're so close.
There you go backwards.
is-
More back.
That's like one of my favorite Nolan movies. Like that's also one that I like a lot. But
It's
yeah,
good. It's good. I wish David Bowie had more time in it.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, guys, we are tied 4-4.
Holla. All right.
All right, we'll see how this next one goes. Review number 1. I watched this while on morphine in the hospital, and it gave me epic nightmares.
That's a pretty awesome review. That was in Zach's scenario for me was Panic Room, the David
Oh.
Fincher
Ooh.
movie. Like, because they rent, my folks rented. I have my appendix out. They rented like a VHS. There's a little player, and that was interesting. But I'm going to say, we'll say 7. Just in
Ooh,
David Fincher.
That's
vein.
a good. That's
Nope.
a good guess, though. Get Out.
No. Also scary though.
Mm,
Great movie too. Quiet Place.
No.
ooh.
I feel like you guys are gonna hate me when you find out what this is.
They're gonna be like, this is not.
It's Mary Poppins Returns or some shit.
Man, when she comes flying in on the wind.
This is someone who's admitted they were on morphine.
Good point. It's a good point. I shouldn't read too much into that.
I think I'll need another review.
Yeah.
Same.
You too, Chris? Okay.
Yep.
I tried to like this. I really did. But this bloated melodrama that everyone seems to praise for its quote unquote realistic family dynamics kind of sickens me.
The Royal Tenenbaums?
No. But also I need to watch that.
Yeah, and actually, I like that you guessed that. That's a good guess. I'm drawing such a blank.
I know. I want to say Hereditary, but would you do 2 Ari Aster movies? Like, I don't think you would.
It is not Hereditary.
I feel like there's something very obvious from the last like decade or so that I'm missing, but family dynamics. Shit.
E.T.
Is that a serious guess, Mr. Rotondi?
It is. I want to lock it in.
Then it is a serious win. You just won the game.
Oh shit, dude!
I'm so
Amazing.
happy. That movie scared the shit out of me
Wow.
as a kid. So that's actually, you know what? I can understand if you're on morphine in the hospital. Oh my god, when
the little-
E.T.'s in the freaking shed, man. Oh,
Right?
yep.
Ow, 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 ow. Dude, well
Oh,
done.
Congratulations,
Well
Will. And good job, Chris. That was
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
Good games. We keep them close most of the time here on Screen Quest when we do these competitions. So I love it.
It's good. It's good shit. The last one on that one, by the way, was it's just Lassie come home without the beauty of a dog.
Oh, that's so sad.
Can't be tripping on ET like that. Come on now.
Yeah, I know. Come on now.
Hey, it's the nature of 1-star reviews, my friend.
That's right.
Very
No
true,
one
very
is
true.
safe.
I feel like that would be a great way to like make yourself angry. Like if you're like wanting to feel something, just find your favorite movies on Letterboxd and read the 1-star reviews. You know, if you're feeling a little numb, you can jumpstart the emotional
right.
part of your brain. Yeah.
And then go out and rage tweet about it after. Yeah.
This is not professional advice, listeners.
Yeah, please. Yeah. The thoughts and opinions of the members of ScreenQuest are not reflective of ScreenQuest as a company, if that company were to exist.
Great. Well, thank you so much for putting that together. That was a blast.
Thank you both for playing. I like making games.
I want to keep that in the rotation for sure.
Yeah, those were great selections.
Agree. Well, shall we draw our final card? And
Yeah.
again, I keep saying final card. Shall we draw our card? I know,
Do you
I
have
feel like
something you'd like to tell us?
No, I promise.
It's not a Freudian slip. Everything
It's
is
not.
okay.
I promise. All right. I'm still on cold meds and congested. I'm blaming it on that.
I'm on morphine right now. I mean, things are a little loopy, but
Yeah. Okay. I'm giving them a good shuffle. May, if we draw another May card, do you want me to reshuffle it in? It's okay if you do.
No, I'm fine. I think as long as we stick with the no more than 3 in a row
3 in a
rule,
row.
I'm good.
Gotcha. All right. Well, here it comes. It is a time machine. And the number, I've got to zoom in here, is 3, which corresponds on our list. So for our listeners, since we haven't done a time machine yet, it is discuss a film more than 50 years old that is a gem of cinema. And number 3 is Will's selection of Metropolis. So it's another Will card. and it'll be
Awesome.
Metropolis. 1927, Fritz Lang. Amazing. I will stipulate for us and for the audience, I think specifically because I've never seen it, we should watch the restored version. So a
Ooh.
little background about this film. For most of its existence, people only got to see the 2-hour cut because there was a large section of it lost due to like bad preservation practices. And then in the basement of a museum in somewhere in South America, I want to say it was Argentina, but it may have been a different country. Next episode we'll clarify. They found the chunk of it that was missing for all those years, and then we're able to I mean, I'm talking this is in like the late 2010s maybe, or late like the first decade of the 2000s that they found this and were able to restore it. So I think that's the one we should watch because I've never seen it, and I think it'll make a lot more sense. What they would do traditionally in the DVD is like explain what happened in that big missing chunk, because like quite a bunch of shit popped off and you were like, what is happening? So that's my, are you guys down with that? Watch the restored version.
Extremely down. How long is it?
Absolutely.
It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think. 2 hours 50 minutes. It's a bit long.
Just another Blade Runner.
Yep.
There you go.
This is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and I've never seen this restored version, so I'm very excited. It's silent too, so I think it's like maybe our only silent film, or like one of our only silent films on the list. So very exciting stuff. As a music lover, May, you will appreciate the use of leitmotifs, which is basically, I think Peter and the Wolf for our audience listeners, where like a different musical theme like is part of like the character or like things that are happening on screen. So
I'm very into that kind of stuff. That's actually why I like Dune so much, is because Hans Zimmer did that in the score. I was like,
Yep. John Williams famously in Star Wars too. Like
yeah,
that's why that works so well too. Well, very good. I'm super excited about this. And I could finally torture my wife with Metropolis, which I've tried to get for years. It doesn't sound appealing, like a 3-hour black and white silent sci-fi movie, but I promise it is stunning for,
it's
especially
so
when it came out in the
Yeah.
1920s. Like it's very, very cool. You can see its influence everywhere. So
Mhm.
right. Well, that wraps it up for this week's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, please interact with us on social media. You can tell us if you are brave enough to watch Two of a Kind, if it's camp or cringe, or maybe give us a guilty pleasure of your own if you don't mind sharing. We'd love to hear that kind of stuff. And as always, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. It'll help us quite a bit. Until next week, we love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.